So hello everyone. I'll show you today about some of the services, or let's say the ecosystem live. We showed you, we've been here last year. Some of you have been here last year, but today also what we do together with Intel. Yesterday we showed you what we do together with Siemens. So it's all about MindSphere. MindSphere is in the center of it. MindSphere is the operating system. But I think MindSphere on its own obviously cannot provide all the answers. So typically the question is, now that all the data is available, what is the problem you want to solve? What makes sense to solve now? And what is solvable with the current state of MindSphere? So that's for us, basically, we said we base all of our service around MindSphere and provide services basically to wrap around, for instance, the customer-specific digital use cases. So we develop with you together in a matter of 1 or 2 days what is the use case it makes sense to solve with a minimal effort, and then in 4 weeks basically develop apps to prove that it's working. This is all about creating the application specific with standard applications, but also maybe you want a very specific case which only you have with your branding, with your style guides, with your, let's say, user experience, which we'll do. So application writing, application publishing is an area we took on top of MindSphere for you. Third one, we say, how about we analyze? So MindSphere comes with a set of analytics, but we also provide more, let's say, advanced technology, advanced analytics there to augment some of the use cases you have. The servitization is a very interesting one, because obviously now we're working with customers a little bit of quality dashboard, a little bit more production improvement, but how about really rapid change of business processes? The whole, not selling just products, but products as a service. So it lets you really experiment with it. And it's not a one-year process where you spend €1 million. It is basically iterative. You introduce the first step, see how it works, try it out. So very much more aggressive for you to try out some servitization ideas you might have, basically. On-premise, private cloud, so we all know it's moving into the public cloud with AWS. There will be a on-premise later. So all about these features and functions. How about the whole security side of it? And then obviously integrate. MindSphere is great, but not all your data will be in MindSphere. You have SAP backend systems, Salesforce systems, how to put it all together. So we basically put our portfolio around that we solve MindSphere at the heart of it, but we solve your questions basically end to end around these areas.
So basically the main message here, what Bernd just presented, is we've been talking to our client a lot. It was in the center of what we developed all around MindSphere. So what we did is we took the feedback of the clients, and to be entirely honest, there's a big evolution in also how clients see IoT in our perception. It basically started maybe 1.5 to 2 years ago, where the feedback was, we don't exactly know what to do with IoT, but we know we have to get started, to nowadays where the use cases and the ideas about IoT become more and more clear, and the vision becomes more and more clear. Also, since we are a very close partner to Siemens, and basically a first-day partner of Siemens in the development of MindSphere and the evolution of MindSphere, we took both components, the knowledge that we get about the platforms from Siemens, the industry knowledge that we have, knowing the verticals and the markets very good, together with the client feedback, and developed an end-to-end portfolio that is specifically dedicated for MindSphere. If we think of this as an IoT journey, I mean, much talked about, companies go on their IoT journey, it probably starts here with what we call consulting. Consulting does not mean the usual consulting. It's really a dedicated workshop that we created, like a product that you can purchase, and we help you to identify the use cases where either to start or to extend your IoT journey. Then it also contains rapid prototyping. So we have a very closed-up concept where we guide you through a rapid prototyping, where we do visual mock-ups, technical mock-ups, to see if the use case that you identified is the right one and brings the right value. Then we come to apps. And we heard we have the most apps in the MindSphere ecosystem running of all the partners, but it's not only the amount of apps. The amount of apps is great, because it shows you real examples of what can happen. And we have reusables also to make the app development more efficient. But it's also important to do integration. So yesterday we showed a Siemens app. It's called Manage My Machine. It basically does condition monitoring of machines. And we integrated SAP and backend system to extend the use cases. So based on events in the apps, we can trigger things in SAP. We can trigger work orders and use SAP processes and combine the two, which makes the use cases a lot more tangible and strong. We are also technology partner by being able to offer advanced analytics. We have our own advanced analytics tool that is combined also and linked to MindSphere. We work very closely together with Siemens on the operations part. On-premise is the wonder word here. That means if you do not want to put your data in the public cloud, there will be solutions where you can put your data in any data centers of the world. In your own, in ours, wherever you want the data to be. And also we do connectivity development. That's the end-to-end offering. What we also do to make this offer even stronger, we work very closely with world-class partners. One of the partners is Intel, that we think is a very good add to the portfolio that we have here. This is why we have such a close collaboration with Intel. So I would hand over to you, Hubert, to show the Intel part of our portfolio.
Thank you, Ingo. So we're at exciting times. Thank you for the opportunity to be on stage together here. I think just a few years ago, I think we weren't talking about an application ecosystem that's emerging around industrial transformation that we're seeing today. So from an Intel perspective, I wanted to briefly offer sort of Intel's view. This is a more strategic view forward, but also talk briefly about sort of the collaboration activities that we have with Atos and with Siemens specifically. So one of the things that we're seeing in the industry is sort of a convergence of computation that's happening closer to the edge, where we see workloads moving to the edge, where we see the intelligence really closer, much closer to the edge at the device level and in the fog level, right? And some of the drivers that are behind that transformation is really, it's fundamentally data that's driving that, the ability to do analytics more locally, not being able to send all the data to the cloud or not have to need to send all the data to the cloud to be able to do local analytics, run some advanced machine learning and deep learning capabilities with the advancement that we've seen over the past few years in that area. But also things like latency, right? If you need to respond to an event very quickly and you need to derive insight from a large set of data, many times either you do not have a persistent cloud connectivity, or you may not be able to do that in a timely fashion, right? So the ability to do that more locally in a closed loop environment becomes very important. Privacy and security around the data is another driver in that area, in the sense that you may have regulatory environments that require you to have the data on-prem. So the on-premise data center becomes really important, but you want to be able to leverage some of the capabilities that you have in the cloud as well. So bringing some of the goodness of the cloud closer to the edge. And we're seeing that really proliferate, not just across the industrial market, but certainly across other markets as well. You know, we're seeing similar shifts in retail and video and so forth, and smart cities as well. Now, specifically, as we look at that transformation and that convergence that's happening, we see that happening across really two vectors. Right? The first vector I've mentioned earlier, and that's really around data and learning and the ability to derive insight and do analytics closer to the edge, right? Where you have traditionally a set of different machines with different dashboards, local analytics, local dashboards, that is now really converging into on-prem compute nodes and on-prem data centers, giving you the ability to have a single pane of glass to operate your operation and operate your factory floor from a single operator station, so to speak, and from your mobile device as you walk around. The other vector is around virtualization of some of the capabilities that have traditionally resided in dedicated custom-built boxes, right? So that is an exciting transformation that we've seen play out in the past few years in the networking space. So for those of you who are familiar with NFV and SDN, the network function virtualization that's been happening in the past 5 or so years in the telco space, we're starting to see that a similar transformation that's now taking place in the industrial space. And it's a very exciting time to be collaborating with Atos and Siemens, as we're Intel as a technology provider, really in a position to be able to accelerate some of these technologies, but really needing to work with system integrators like Atos to be able to offer platforms and application ecosystems, right? So specifically, those are some of the areas we're collaborating on. So Ingo mentioned it, on-prem MindSphere is a focus of ours, right? We're trying to bring some of the goodness of the cloud closer to the edge, as we've talked about. The virtualization piece itself to be able to do real-time, high availability types of ruggedized industrial virtualization platforms right at the edge or close to the edge of where the data originates. And end-to-end security goes without saying. It's often implied and often assumed, but there's a lot of work that has to go into ensuring that the data and the system execution and the management of these devices happens in a secure fashion. And certainly, the last piece I want to touch on briefly, and we're seeing a lot of talk at the show here about time-sensitive networking and real-time deterministic Ethernet, which is really becoming a critical ingredient in that transformation to be able to do low latency, real-time control closer to the edge. So with that, I think we want to summarize just briefly. Again, Atos, Siemens, and Intel are working together in a number of different areas, right? From a technology provider standpoint, Intel really is bringing a lot of technology all the way from the edge to the fog to the data center cloud, working closely with Atos.
And we think that's a perfect fit to really extend and make our end-to-end offering that I described a lot stronger. And we are more than happy if you visit us. We are in the booth together, so Intel and Atos, we have the booth just over there, where we have an app store to show you our more than 15 apps that are up and ready. We have an end-to-end demo where we simulate an event in a machine that is actually there, and you can see how the data goes into the cloud, into the app, and how this all works. We also have the HoloLens, where you can see the next evolution. You can see the apps that we have actually in a HoloLens. Just go there, check it out, and see the future, basically, yeah? Because there we really go artificial reality. And we have many more things to see, so I invite you to visit us in the lounge to see Intel and Atos, and we think we have a good offering for you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.